I've been testing out a good selection of Aqara smart home products for the past month. And do you know what my conclusion is? I think I want to move more of my smart home to Aqara. That is a bold statement, I know, but hopefully by the end of today's episode you'll agree that Aqara has some of the best smart home gadgets available at the moment and some of the best methods of integration by far. So welcome back to another episode of Stu's Reviews. Aqara do a ton of different smart home products, but today I just want to showcase a small handful of the stuff I've tested. The G3 camera, the P1 motion sensor, the contact sensors, and this thing, the roller shade driver E1. But I want to start with the camera though, because this thing is bloody incredible. Now the first reason for my opinion on this is that it's not just a camera. It acts as the smart home hub for all of the Aqara smart home system. How good is that? I hate hubs. You know I hate hubs. I always go on about how hubs should be made illegal. Enthusiasts of smart home likely have a bunch of hubs plugged into their network to get stuff to work, but this hub I can get behind because it actually performs a really useful function other than just another white box shoved at the back of your cupboard. Instead, you can have it in a pride of place where you'd normally have a security camera, and better still, the design is simple, it's modern, and it even comes with these sort of cute silicone covers, which you can take off if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave it on because it's quite fun. They're a bit of a laugh. But the thing is though, I was a little worried that it's trying to do too much and that the actual camera functionality would suffer because it's trying to be a hub and a camera. But I was very, very, very wrong. This is perhaps one of the best indoor cameras that I've tested so far because of a few really standout features. Overall though, the quality of the stream is good at 2K resolution. It's nothing super spectacular, but certainly adequate for video monitoring. The camera has full range of movement though, and that can be controlled remotely, meaning that you get a whole view of the room that this is situated in. But here is where it gets really, really good. Unlike many remote control cameras that I've tested, this is set apart by its ability to have preset viewing angles. Now this neat trick allows you to essentially sweep between those predefined areas to check on what's going on quickly and efficiently instead of spending a minute manually moving the camera to check on something that by the time you've moved it to the right spot has probably been and gone and already happened. It's just a really handy feature that I never knew I wanted. But another thing that this has that I've never seen done quite as well as this in a security camera is the active tracking functionality, which you can set to track people or animals and then follow them around a room. And it tracks quick, like super, super quick. Take a look at this. There is literally no way of me hiding my Crocs. If I walk over here, he just follows me everywhere I go. So that my Crocs are always going to be somewhere in the shot at some point. Not only this, if I walk closer, it starts to look up. All-seeing eye. Knows exactly where I am all of the time. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Put it this way, if you're a burglar, there is no escaping this one, and you'll always be able to catch which pet did the dirty while you're out. But if being able to track people and pets really, really quickly wasn't enough for you, it also has facial recognition software. And you can use that to trigger routines within the Aqara smart home ecosystem. So for example, if I walked into the house and it recognises me, it might turn off all the motion sensors. Whereas if someone else walks in, you can set that to send a notification to my phone saying a specific person has come through the door or someone it doesn't recognise has come through the door. The limitation of this is that it all has to be internal to the Aqara app because third-party facial recognition isn't yet supported by many of the smart home systems like Amazon, which in turn means you can't have greater control of what happens when it detects a face. It would be great if you could do something like set it to play music and boil the kettle when it detects me returning home from work, and then different routines like that for other people in the family, depending on who's coming through the door. But there is an even bigger problem here, however, and that's that it doesn't currently recognise beards, or at least that's what I'm guessing the problem is. It keeps telling me that I can't use my face because something is obstructing it. Now, either that's because I'm secretly one of those lizard alien overlords and it doesn't recognise my fake skin, or it's because of my very, very dark beard, which you must think is some kind of scarf. Other people's face seem to work fine. Even this picture of my daughter with a hat on seems to work. Hopefully this is a small fix, and I'll be keeping my eye out on this one. If they do update it, or if I find out what I'm doing wrong, I will post it in the comments and I'll pin it to the top with my thoughts if they do change it or I find out if I'm doing something wrong. But still, it could be a great function for the right use, and I'm hoping that this sort of facial recognition to trigger smart home routines will become more prevalent in the upcoming years. And the thing is, I could do a whole episode just on this camera's capabilities, and you never know, I might just do, because I'm only scratching the surface. It's even got an IR blaster built in to control devices like really old Dyson tower fans. It has cool functions like the hard privacy option that turns the camera off, hides the lens, and reveals a pair of sleeping eyes that works really well with this silicone cover. I just love it. But that's enough gushing over the camera. Let's move on to a sample of the other bits that Aqara do, starting with the motion sensor, the P1. This is a super inexpensive yet really powerful piece of tech that adds to the smart home workflow. It's perhaps one of the smallest motion sensors that I've tried, and possibly one of the best batteries that are reported 5 years usage. Obviously, I haven't tried it for 5 years, but I'll tell you what, if you've got a P1 and the battery needs replacing, do let us know in the comments below how long that was. But it can do a few other things than just detect motion. It's capable of triggering routines, and that's not just in the Aqara app. It can also do this natively within the Amazon ecosystem, meaning I can do things like set it to turn lights on or off if it detects motion, or alternatively, if it doesn't detect motion during a certain amount of period. The last trick up its sleeve, though, is that it can give you a light reading for each room you have one of these placed in, which is a really handy piece of information to have, and great that they built it in as an extra piece of monitoring that can censor certain pieces about the environment that it's placed in. There is something else that this sensor can do that I actually quite love, and that's the fact that it's future-proof. Aqara have already stated that this will be updated to work with Matter at a later date, meaning you're buying a product that will be supported for the foreseeable future. Now, next up is the window and door sensors. Now, these are a bit more generic and only really perform one function, which is to tell you whether or not the door is open or closed. Again, though, there are tons of automation that you can do with these, because these are also compatible with the Amazon ecosystem as a trigger too, giving a greater deal of automation across a great range of smart home devices from all manufacturers that work with Amazon. But I will say that these are potentially some of the most compact sensors that I've tested so far. They're super neat, small, and look at the size compared to like the boundary system that I tested only a few months ago. The size difference is almost comical. Of course, the boundary system did have other things built in, such as temperature sensors, but it is laughable. And at only £17 per sensor, it means you can kit out almost every entry to your house for relatively little money, and they work extremely fast as well. You open a window and that notification is almost instant. Overall, I'm very, very impressed with the size and design and function of these. They do exactly what they say on the tin, and they do it phenomenally well. Now, the last Aqara accessory I want to show you is this thing, the Roller Shade Driver E1. You guys should know by now that I love technology that retrofits to old stuff to make them smart, and this thing is the icing on the cake. All you have to do is fix this to the wall where you have a beaded roller shade, feed the cord through it, and then you're done. You can then control a roller shade with this. It makes it smart. You can then control it directly through the app, but it goes much further than this. You can pair it up to Amazon and have it trigger to open or close. Or, because we're first and foremost pairing up to the Aqara system, we can immediately expose it to triggers which are only available in here, which is why it's really important to look back at the other gadgets we've looked at today. We could do some incredible things like between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m, set all of the lights in the house to turn on and classical music to start playing at maximum volume from every speaker in the house if the motion sensor is triggered, or the hub detects a face it doesn't recognise, or a man with a beard, alerting the entire house and the local neighbourhood of an intruder. And with this, obviously, you're exposing all of the windows that have roller shades on them. And I think that is so cool. And this is ultimately where a lot of the fun is to be had with the Aqara system, because by pairing up multiple Aqara sensors and products, we'll open up the ability for a much greater smart home control than if you were constrained by the Amazon Echo ecosystem or other systems alone. You don't have to get rid of your existing setup because Aqara integrates so seamlessly with it. Myself, it's been Amazon, and this has just paired up side by side, but given me a much greater control of things within this system. And I absolutely love it for it. But there are a few things that I would change. Firstly, and this I guess isn't the fault of Aqara, it's the fault of Amazon, the smart triggers in the Echo ecosystem are minimal, meaning a lot of the routine abilities like using the facial recognition from the camera and the light sensing on other products aren't much use to an Amazon-based smart home like mine at this current in time. It may be in future that Amazon open up different routines to things from third-party developers. I'm really hoping they do, because they're flagging behind quite a bit, really, when you look at something like this system. So there's that. Perhaps here there's an opportunity for Aqara in the meantime to open up things like virtual buttons, so that when you're triggering a routine within the Aqara app, it presses the virtual button within the Amazon ecosystem, which triggers an Amazon routine, which would then complete the routine on both systems, if that makes sense. There's probably already an easy way around this. I just haven't yet come across it. But it would be nice to see virtual buttons implemented within the Aqara system in the meantime until Amazon get their arse in gear and allow us to use things like light sensing or face detection on third-party devices as routine triggers within the greater Amazon ecosystem. And again, I'm saying Amazon because that is the system that I personally use. Another thing I think they could have improved on slightly would be the battery in this, because there isn't one. I've said before that all security cameras that are attached to your smart home should have an internal battery, even if that is just lasting 6 hours or so that if you have a power cut, you're not going to lose any of your internal security or connectivity. That is really important. I would love to see that feature from future iterations of the Camera Hub from Aqara. But putting those two things aside, I found this whole system to be immensely powerful, well designed, super quick and very reliable so far. And it's really cost effective. The Camera Hub costs around £100. That's less than many competitors' smart cameras. And it's not just a smart camera. The other ones generally are just smart cameras. And then, once you have this, it's pick and mix till your heart's content. And there really isn't one piece of kit that I've thought is excessively priced. It's all very reasonable. Even the roller shade driver, which gives you functionality that is unbelievable, is only 60 quid. So all in all, I think Aqara products are extremely competitive and well priced. And because of my experience with these devices over the past month, I will definitely be looking at moving to some other Aqara devices across my smart home. The big question is, are you going to give them a go? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Aqara could be a good shout, or are you solidly in love with something else, or do you have Aqara stuff already? Let me know how you're finding it. Pop your stuff in the comments below and we can all have a good chinwag over it. But I will see you back for another episode of Stu's Reviews soon. Look, that's even stupidly small as well.